West Africa is seconds from war. ECOWAS just placed military force on the table. Not diplomacy, not dialogue, but boots, guns, and blood. And when asked to back down, Ibrahim Traoré didn't blink. He simply declared, "An attack on one is an attack on all." This isn't peacekeeping anymore. This is a countdown. The Sahel is no longer just a region. It's a line in the sand. And someone just crossed it. On one side, ECOWAS, a bloc once formed to protect unity in West Africa. On the other, a new alliance led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, backed by Mali and Niger, three nations who've stopped waiting for permission. This isn't diplomacy anymore. It's positioning. And now it's war talk. It started with a meeting behind closed doors. ECOWAS leaders gathered to issue what they called a final warning. But the language was clear: military intervention is on the table. They claim it's about restoring democracy. But Traoré's response cut through the noise like a bullet. An attack on one of us is an attack on all. 7 words. No stutter. No retreat. The room fell silent. Because this wasn't just a statement. It was a red line. And suddenly, West Africa wasn't negotiating. It was mobilizing. Behind the scenes, ECOWAS is pressuring border states. Weapons are being repositioned. Diplomats are scrambling. And intelligence reports warn of pre-strike communications buzzing through allied capitals. But what they didn't expect was how united the Sahel became the moment Traoré said no. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso activated joint defense protocols. Military drills intensified, airfields cleared, satellite comms hardened. This wasn't panic. It was preparation. And in the streets of Ouagadougou, the message was already painted across crumbling walls. No more puppets. No more chains. This is no longer about who rules. It's about who decides. And Traoré? He's not just deciding for himself. He's rewriting the script for every African leader who's been told to sit down, or else. Paris felt it first. The French Foreign Ministry went on record calling the Sahel bloc's alliance deeply concerning. But behind closed doors, it wasn't concern. It was panic. Because for the first time in decades, a cluster of African nations had not only rejected foreign military presence. They had successfully replaced it. French bases in Burkina Faso and Niger were ordered to vacate. Helicopter fuel lines were cut. Airspace access revoked. And most importantly, contracts were burned. In one internal French intel briefing, a general reportedly asked, "If this spreads, how do we maintain influence?" Spoiler: they don't. At the United Nations, the tone shifted too. Diplomatic language became sharper. Suddenly, phrases like legitimate government and unconstitutional transfer of power were being weaponized. Not to protect peace, but to justify intervention. And yet, the Sahel didn't blink. Because Traoré and his allies weren't playing the game. They were flipping the board. In a joint statement, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso said, "We reject externally dictated democracy. We choose sovereignty, even if it comes with war." Those words hit harder than any missile. But it's not just the politics that changed. It's the people. In Bamako, in Niamey, in Ouagadougou, young men and women started painting over colonial statues with bold new slogans. No IMF. No France. No fear. Some held signs showing the flags of the Sahel Alliance fused into one. Others held brooms saying, "We're cleaning our house ourselves." It wasn't protest anymore. It was participation. And that's what scared global leaders the most. Because bullets can stop bodies. But belief? Belief travels. And now, belief was moving faster than any ECOWAS tank. While ECOWAS drew war maps, Traoré was drawing blueprints. Not for bunkers. For schools. Clinics. Solar grids. Highways. In the middle of sanctions, isolation, and international threats, Burkina Faso quietly launched one of the largest internal development campaigns in its history. A parallel state. One not funded by the IMF. Not approved by Paris. Not televised by Western media. But built by hands hardened from generations of being told, "You can't." Farmers began laying fiber optic cable. Mechanics were retrained as microgrid technicians. University students skipped graduation ceremonies to pour concrete into foundations of new schools. And so, the world asked, where's the money coming from? But the better question was, where was this will hiding all these years? Traoré didn't fund a revolution with dollars. He funded it with dignity. And he made it clear, we don't need $1 trillion. We need 10 million people who refuse to be ruled by fear. Meanwhile, across the region, his model started leaking beyond borders. In Togo, student unions began citing Burkina Faso's rise in their manifestos. In Ghana, small farmers staged a march holding placards that read, "Give us tools, not aid." It was no longer just about who had the biggest army. It was about who had the strongest idea. And that idea was that Africa's power doesn't lie in its resources. It lies in its refusal to ask for permission to exist. The invasion warning came on a Monday. ECOWAS gave a 7-day ultimatum. Withdraw the military government. Reinstate their version of democracy. Or face force. But by Tuesday, something unexpected happened. It wasn't soldiers who took position. It was civilians. Tens of thousands formed human chains around roads, oil reserves, power stations. In every city, every province. Not with guns, but with their bodies. Old women blocking runways. Teenagers guarding government buildings. Farmers surrounding radio towers. One reporter said, "You can't invade a country when the people are its walls." That same night, Ibrahim Traoré appeared on national TV. No suit. No flag behind him. Just the words. We will not run. We will not hide. If they cross the line, they will not face a regime. They will face a people. It wasn't a threat. It was a truth. Because the people didn't rise for politics. They rose for ownership. For the first time in decades, West Africans weren't just being governed. They were governing themselves. And ECOWAS? They blinked. The deadline passed. No invasion came. No fighter jets. No paratroopers. Just silence. Because maybe they saw what the world now understands. You can crush a regime. You can destabilize an economy. But you can't unbuild belief. And Traoré? He didn't claim victory. He just kept building. Brick by brick. Town by town. Dream by dream. Because this wasn't the end of a threat. It was the beginning of something unstoppable.